Hello there, everybody, and welcome to the 2021 definitive game ranking. All of the new games that we played on the channel in 2021. Should be noted, some of these were on stream as well. So this is just across all of the Olexa channels as a whole. This is all of the new games that we checked out. Meaning that it might not mean they came out in 2021. It just means that we played them for the first time in 2021. Now, I'm going to tell you that like 95% of these came out last year. But yeah, it's something we like to do around the end of the year. I know we're, now a week into the new year, but I finally got some time to kind of create this ranking. I'm gonna try to explain each game a little bit. There's like 50 games in here, so I'm gonna try to spend like a minute or so on each one, if not less. Some I'll have less to say about than others, and then I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna be way too lazy to add any gameplay clips of any of these, or link anything. So yeah, I'll just let you go find the videos if you're interested, and we'll call it a day. That sounds good to me. Okay, let's hop in. We'll start with Axolotl. This is a kind of arena top-down shooter. It's kind of like Enter the Gungeon meets a tower defense game in a little bit of ways. I'm gonna tell you, I wasn't a huge fan of it. I'm gonna put it in C tier, but I'm also going to put a caveat on this, saying that I only played the demo of the game. But I kept wanting a little bit more from it than what it was giving me. It felt very simplistic in its gameplay. What it did really well, which was a top-down arena shooter as a tower defense game. But it kind of felt like there was no real progression at all, and some of the guns got a little samey. It needed a lot more variety in order to really take off, and it might have it now in the full release of the game. I'm not 100% sure, so it's not a great one to start with. I'm just gonna be real, it's not. But yeah, Axolotl. We moved to Alt F4. I was unfortunately forced to play this on stream at one point. It could possibly be the worst game that I've played this year. It's a kind of getting over it style game. If you know Getting Over It, the dude in the cauldron with the pickaxe, is that kind of game, except it's more of a third person, almost scroller, but it's a 3D kind of movement paced game. A lot of, wacky scenarios. The music is memey. It's a very, very memey game. I mean, even the name of it, Alt F4, it's implying that you're gonna rage quit while playing it. Is not my kind of game, right? It's not my kind of game. Some people love it, but it's not for me. So I'd rather play Axolotl than Alt F4. We moved to Arcanium. Arcanium, this is a couple of interesting things about Arcanium. This was actually the first game I ever took a paid sponsorship for on my channel. And I really enjoyed it, and I'm not being paid to say that. I really enjoyed it. I think this is an A tier game. Now, I will say they've gone through a lot of changes in the past couple of months, and some of the changes people really, really did not like. But I think that they were reverting a lot of those changes back to how the game was. It's just a really tight, good deck builder. It's kind of, if you enjoy Slay the Spire and you enjoy Hearthstone, it's kind of a mix between the two, and it's really solid. I enjoyed it a lot. I was fortunate to have the sponsorship with them, but it was the kind of game where, like, I was probably going to check it out and play it anyway, so it made it really easy to do a sponsorship on it. I really enjoyed it. I think it's an A tier game. We moved to Archvale. This is, as I kind of said in the thumbnail for it, Enter the Gungeon meets Hollow Knight. Kind of a top-down bullet hell RPG game. We did a couple episodes of it during Oleximus. It's a game that fell off really fast, right? It has a lot of really good ideas, and I love the art, and the gameplay is pretty fun, but it gets really samey really, really fast. I think it's going to be a low B for me. I do think that it's a game that if you enjoy kind of the bullet hell genre, I think it's definitely worth picking up. Some interesting stuff going on in it, but I think that low B is the best place for it. let's move on to Battle Royale. This is a Battle Royale game that is Scrabble, right? It's a Scrabble Battle Royale. It's a brilliant little game. I actually really enjoy it. I found myself playing it off camera more than I have played it on camera, but I will also point out that it has some extremely fatal flaws in it. There are issues in the game that hopefully they're going to fix as time goes on, but I'm just going to be blunt with you. I still have a lot of fun with it. I think that it's a low A tier game. And I think it's one of those games that it has a lot of room to expand as time goes on. So, Battle Royale, low A. We move on to Beast Breaker. This was a game that I put a lot more time into than I think I ever expected to put into. You guys really enjoyed it. So did I. I think that it's a really unique little game. It's kind of a pinball RPG game, akin to a game like Peggle, but as an RPG. There's another Peggle-like on this list that we'll get to later. But I like Beastbreaker. I think that it's a really solid, tight-knit game. My issue with it is it starts to get really grindy and very repetitive towards the end of it. But I still think that the gameplay itself is deserving of a high B for me. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it's one that is so unique that it's definitely worth checking out. Boomerang X. This is a game that I only played the demo of. I know that the full game has released now, but I will tell you, the demo itself put it in A tier for me. I've been wanting to check out the full release, just haven't had the time to do so. But it's a first-person boomerang throwing tower defense game. Basically, you're jumping around, throwing boomerangs, flinging yourself around. It's very high action, fast paced, kind of first person shooter, but with boomerangs. It's just a really fun little game. And I've heard that the full release is just as good, so it's worth checking out for sure. Let's move to Chess-splosion. This is a game that I expected I was going to play a lot more than what I played it. This is a bullet hell chess game. It's kind of an arena battler where your ways of battling are the directional chess pieces. So you attack on diagonals as bishops, you attack in lines as rooks, things like that. Really neat idea. Is it well executed? The answer to that is yes. It is well executed. I think my biggest issue with it is it's really hard to commentate because it requires a lot more brain energy than you would think. So if you're recording it, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you're not recording it and you enjoy chess and you enjoy bullet hells, I mean, come on, it's exactly what you want from a game. I would highly recommend it at that point. I still think it's deserving of B, and I just want to make it well known that basically like anything in B tier and up, I would recommend for sure. It's worth. Just B is normally, it has some flaws. C is maybe not for me, but you know, there's still some value. D is like, probably stay away. It's not worth playing. And I'm going to tell you right now, maybe only one of these games goes in D. That's here. So, yeah, it's good stuff. We move on to Chicory. This was another game that I only played the demo of. I'm gonna put it in low B. But this is more of a it's not for me, I think, kind of games. It's an RPG where you're painting the world as you go. It's from the makers of Celeste and something else in that same vein. It's a really beautiful game. Very cute story. The gameplay is just a little on the easy side for me, and it wasn't scratching an itch that I necessarily wanted it to scratch. I did also only play the demo, important to note. So the full release I've heard is very good. It has very good reviews as well. It's just one of those games where it's not for me. So worth checking out for sure. Not for me. We move on to one of the sleeper picks for Game of the Year for me, Circadian Dice. This is an S tier game, 1000%. It will be lower S tier because of one thing and one thing only, and I hate that I'm putting this as the reason why it's not S tier. The graphics in the game are kind of jarring sometimes. I know they say don't judge a game by its cover, but like, I'm pretty sure people didn't watch my series on it because of how the game looked. This looks like a game that was made in 1998, but it is one of the best dice roguelites ever. Like genuinely ever. It's coming to Steam this year, apparently, so absolutely keep your eyes peeled for it. It's a brilliant little game, and I adore it, and I can't wait to play it again sometime in the future. Speaking of adorable little games, or like extremely boobalicious games, Dead Estate. I'm gonna tell you, I actually think Dead Estate is an S tier game as well. I really enjoyed Dead Estate. We played it for a little bit on the channel back in October, November. It's a top-down roguelite, similar to like a Binding of Isaac, Enter the Gungeon, but you're kind of at a isometric angle for it. There's so much content in this game that you wouldn't expect to be in this game. And that makes it a really surprising game for me. But I really enjoy it. I think that it's a brilliant little game. It scratches all the itches for a roguelite that, you know, if you enjoy the Binding of Isaac vein of roguelikes, I would highly recommend it. Check it out. It's good stuff. We move on to Death's Door. Dude, Death's Door. This was another game that, like, a little bit of a fall from grace for me. I think I'm going to put it in high C, but I think this is another one where it falls into this is a me problem for the game. I like Death's Door. This is a Souls-like Metroidvania, akin to, like, Dark Souls meets Hollow Knight meets a Hades-style combat system. I wanted to like it a lot more than what I did. And then I just realized that I wasn't really enjoying it, so I stopped recording it. It felt a little samey as time went on. A lot of good things. The combat system is fun, but it is repetitive. The characters are very lovable. It's apparently a relatively short game, so it's not gonna, you know, eat away at your time, but it's still solid. It just, you know, the Metroidvania genre is not always for me. And I kind of have come to expect that and respect that and understand that. So it's high C for me, but I know a lot of people, this was like game of the year for them, so definitely worth checking out. Then we move to Deflection. This is a game that Orbital and I played for one episode on the channel. I actually really enjoyed it. I did. I'm putting it in low B because at its core, it's basically just a rendition of the game Laser Chess, but on PC. But it's really well done, right? It's a really well done remake of the game Laser Chess. It's just, you know, are there a lot of fresh new ideas there? No, it's Laser Chess, right? Was it still fun to play Orbital? Absolutely. But if you don't have a friend to play it with, there's never really going to be a good vibe that you're getting from it playing it solo. So grab a friend who you like playing chess with and check it out. That's all I have to say there. We move on to Despot's game. Look, I don't like auto battlers. And you may be like, I disagree, Tyler, because you are going to rank two of them really high on this list. That's true. I'm also going to rank one of them really low. But I am going to put Despot's game in the highest A tier. I don't think it's S tier for me. I want to save S tier for like my true recommendations here. But I do think that Despot's game is high A tier. This is a really fun and unique auto battler game. Lot of fun commentary and interesting mechanics to kind of tie into the auto battler roguelike genre. It's freakishly hard. I mean, we did a couple episodes, never even came close to a win. But it's a really enjoyable little game, and I highly recommend checking it out. Good devs as well, and just some interesting mechanics. We move to Dungeon Deathball, which in a lot of ways falls into a lot of the same things I just said. Really interesting mechanics in a tight-knit tactics roguelike. It's kind of a dodgeball tactical roguelike where you're trying to reach one, you're going from the left to the right with a dodgeball in your hand, but there's a bunch of enemies along the way. Really interesting tactic decisions. If you enjoy games like Fights in Tight Spaces, which we'll get to literally next, or if you like games like Into the Breach, you're gonna like Dungeon Deathball. This was one of my shining stars of 2021, honestly. I didn't play it a lot because it didn't really collect the views as much as I wanted, but God, did I really enjoy it. And I wish that I could play some more of it sometime soon, because I think it's a great little game. Gonna be one that we consider adding to the pyramid as well. I really like it. Check it out. Fights in Tight Spaces. Just started a YouTube series of Fights in Tight Spaces. You can check that out. It came out at the time that I'm posting this, probably yesterday. So you can find my new series of Fights in Tight Spaces. This is an S tier game, man. It's really good. I'm going to put it below Circadian Dice, above Dead Estate. This is a tactics roguelike deck builder, where you're controlling kind of an Agent 47 kind of guy who's fighting other people, but it's all in a tight-knit tactics game using cards for all of your movement. Just combines two genres into a brilliant little game. The 1.0 release is incredible. They've added a lot of variety and new mechanics to the game that just make it a ton of fun. It's worth playing, and I could not recommend it more. Fuzz Force Spook Squad. I'm gonna throw this in high B. Okay, I didn't play a lot of this game, but what I played, there's a lot of good stuff going on in here. It's a dice builder roguelike, but it plays really like a complex board game. There's actually so much to unpack in this game that it's part of the reason why it's not higher for me. Because it really feels like the developer had an idea for a board game, and then they decided to make it a video game instead. And I actually think the game could have gone as a board game maybe better as if it was than if it was a video game. But there's some interesting stuff in here. There's some kind of RNG random mechanics in it that I wasn't a huge fan of, but like, it's a dice rolling game, so in the end you're gonna have those kinds of mechanics, and it just is what it is. But there's still a lot to unpack. There's a lot of content in this game than what initially appears on the surface. So check it out if you enjoy, dice builders akin to, dicey dungeons and things like that. Definitely deserves to have its name in that same vein. We move to Gordian Quest. This is another deck building roguelike. Trigger word for us, really, on this channel. This was the other series that I was sponsored for in 2021. Whenever someone sees a sponsored series, they immediately are like, don't want to watch it, don't care, plus didn't ask, plus you shouldn't make money for what you do as a hobby. But I'm gonna tell you, I actually really enjoyed it. I really did. I think it's a low A for me. It's a really fun deck builder. There's a fun storyline, kind of RPG style mode in it that you can play. There's also then on top of that a like roguelike mode that you can play, akin to like a Slay the Spire kind of thing. And then on top of that, there's also online PvP. There's so much damn content hidden in this little game. It's ridiculous, and they're continuing to add more. There's just a lot going on, and it's a brilliant game. I can't do anything but recommend it. It's worth checking out. We move to Hop Legs. Hop Legs. Dude, I went through a period of time on the channel, on Twitch, where I was playing Hop Legs like every stream, and I don't regret it at all. This is a getting over it style game where you control a box, and each side of the square is one of the buttons on a controller. So you basically have, X, O, triangle, square is each side of the square. And when you press the button of that side, he kind of punches and it launches the box. And you have to navigate using those controls. For some reason, it's just like the most fun game ever. It's incredibly frustrating, as you would expect it to be, but it's brilliant, and I recommend it. And the devs are like the sweetest people on planet Earth. So absolutely check that one out. But play with a controller or you're going to want to die because it is really bad without a controller. We move on to 100 Days Winemaking Simulator. Again, caveat, I only played the demo, so take everything I say here with a grain of salt. I really did not like this game. I really didn't, but it was just a demo, so I don't want to say too many bad things about it. I felt that it there wasn't a lot of explanation for what you were supposed to do, but then the mechanics were extremely in-depth. And then once you tried to understand them, the game actually then felt even shallower at its core. Don't let that be a deterrent, because I'm also stupid. So there's a chance that I just didn't understand simple stuff in the game. But I felt the game needed a little bit better tutorial, especially in a demo, right? You're trying to sell the game in a demo. And it just didn't hit. And unfortunately, sorry, I just right-clicked. Unfortunately, I don't really want to play the full version because I didn't really enjoy the demo. That's just unfortunately how it works. So it's going to be one of my lower ranked ones. Yeah, just not amazing. We moved to Inscription. Look, it's my game of the year. It's my game of the year. Nothing on this list is going to pass Inscription. You can look at the remaining games. You can go, damn, there's some good ones. It ain't going to pass Inscription. I think that it is the game of the year. It's a true experience. If you don't know anything about the game and you don't plan on buying it, please watch my series of it. If you intend on playing it at some point in time, stay away from everything on the internet. It is best going into that game blind and just enjoying the incredible experience that it gives you. It's a super unique deck building game, and that's all I'm going to say about it. It's great. It's really good. It Takes Two. I can't accurately tell you much about It Takes Two, but I enjoyed what I played of it. I'm going to put it a little bit above Hop Legs in the A tier. It's a fun co-op game. I played it for like 3 hours with Anna on stream. We never touched it again. It has nothing to do with the game. It's just like streaming together is hard. And the game is also more for gamers than what we thought. So it was a little bit difficult on her end, but it's still a brilliant game. It was nominated for like Game of the Year, so it's obviously going to be pretty good. If you have someone to play co-op games with, check it out, because you're not going to find one much better than it. We move to King of Retail. King of Retail is a meme of a game, man. It's a meme of a game. And it's unfortunate I don't have a tier that is just meme games, right? You know, you could throw Alt F4 into there as well at that point. Even Battle Royale you could probably put as a meme game. Hop Legs is a meme game. King of Retail is a hilariously fun game. Is it a good game? I don't know. I don't know. It's hilariously fun to stream and mess around with and do funky things. At its core, is it a good, management game? I think the answer is no. But I do think that it's fun, and it created some really good content. I enjoyed playing it a lot. I will probably never open it ever again. So that's kind of where that sits. We move to Kiver Rebirth. This is a deck building roguelike. Ding, ding, ding. I know, bingo, you won. It's fine, right? It's fine. I think that it is good and has some interesting ideas and some potential. It kind of, if I'm being honest with you, it felt like they had a lot of ideas and just decided, let's throw them all in a game, even though a lot of them don't actually fit together. Really good ideas, fell a little bit flat. I'm gonna put it high C. Fell a little bit flat, but keep your eyes on it, because I do think that if they polish that game, it could be really, really good. It's interesting because you run 2 decks at once. You run a defensive deck and an offensive deck, and that creates a lot of interesting plays in how you do things. But I just feel like the surrounding, that mechanic rocks, and then everything else kind of just, it falls a little flat for me. Let's talk about Luck Be a Landlord. God, dude. Probably one of my most played games in 2021, so you would expect me to just slap it in the S tier. I'm gonna put it in high A, and I think that that's almost controversial, because a lot of people probably would either put it in S tier or put it much lower. I do like Luck Be a Landlord a lot. It scratches a lot of itches. It's a gambling roguelite, a slot machine roguelite. It had constant updates throughout 2021, which were basically feeding the content for me. It's a fun game. The mods are starting to come out for it, which is bringing more life back into the game. Really fun. The reason why it's not S tier for me, at its core, it's still pretty simple, right? It's press button, collect money kind of thing. I don't think there's a ton of replayability in the game once you've kind of mastered all of the different builds. I think that as the game continues to grow and mature, and as the modding community really takes off, I think there's potential for it to be an S tier game. But high A is a great rank. You can't knock a high A in this tier list. It's still a very good game and worth playing. We move to Lemon Cake. This is a bakery simulator, and it's really cute, right? I think that's the best way to word it. It's really cute. I'm gonna put it right below Fuzz Force. I'm gonna put it right below Chessplosion, actually. I do feel like there's a drop-off that occurs right here. Lemon Cake is on the left side of the drop-off. It's a cute little bakery simulator. You're kind of managing a bakery, managing guests, baking the food. Really cute graphics, really cute theme. It's just a cute game, and I really enjoyed playing it on stream. And unfortunately, it's one of those games that I'll probably never touch again. But it was enjoyable in the hour and a half that I played it. Worth checking out. Disappointments of the year. Gonna put Loop Hero into D. This is an auto battler roguelite that had a huge cult following after the demo during the Steam kind of demothon that they put out in March and April of last year. A lot of people expected it to be a Game of the Year candidate, and then the full release of the game was just the demo. There wasn't that much extra content. It got really grindy, and at its core, it was just an auto battler that didn't have a lot of extra heart to it. I was kind of really disappointed. It didn't hit the mark for me, and I have no interest in ever playing it ever again. So, one of probably maybe the only D that I'm gonna rank in this list, but yeah, not really one of my favorites. One of my favorites though is Mini Motorways, which is my number 2 game of the year in 2021. You may be like, Tyler, is Mini Motorways it's just the mini Metro sequel? Why is it so good? Play that damn game and then tell me it's not good. It's actually brilliant. If I could play it every day for content on my channel and get great views, I would do it. I actually just love the game. It's incredible. And they just did another update that added 3 unique challenges for every map in the game. So it's just even better. There's more content. There's 15 maps in it now. It's so good. It's actually just so good. Play this game. It's brilliant. And it's on mobile. So you can buy it on your phone and play it on mobile. It's good stuff. It's really good stuff. Here's another D game. And I actually hate that I'm putting it in D, because I think that it's the kind of game that has so much potential if it just had another year in the oven. This is Moonglow Bay. This is a Stardew Valley-like fishing simulator. It doesn't hit right. It's really funny. There's a lot of memey things in this game. It could go into the meme tier for sure. But at its core, you play it and you're just you want it to be Stardew Valley, but focused on fishing, and instead you just get a half-assed fishing simulator, and it doesn't hit the mark for me, unfortunately. I think that it could. There's a lot of good foundational stuff here, but they try to put you in this world that is supposed to feel, cozy and warm and inviting, and you instead get, the feeling in Stardew where you walk around and you're like, I love everybody here, even though deep down they all have a lot of, huge mental problems. They're trying to do the same thing in Moonglow Bay, but you actually just hate every person in the town, which makes it really difficult to feel attached to them. And then there's not enough core gameplay mechanics to kind of match that. It's just fishing. And that's it. There's no crops. There's no life outside of just doing the same fishing minigame over and over and over, and it doesn't hit. So unfortunately, I have to put it in D tier. Olexa. This was one of my favorite series of 2021. It's like a 7-episode series. It's a extremely short metroidvania game. It's only about 3.5-4 hours to complete the game, probably 5 or so to master it, and get everything. It's a 2D platformer Metroidvania with a very strange story. There's like no dialogue in the game at all, so you're kind of figuring out the story as you go. The theme is great, the artwork is great, the gameplay mechanics are great. It's just a brilliant little game, and I enjoyed it a lot. I recommend it entirely, even if it's just for you to play a quick 4-hour game. Is worth playing. I enjoyed it a lot. Fun mechanic in it as well, with how you kind of attack and do damage. Makes the combat really, really fun. Let's move to Orbital Bullet. This is a arena roguelite where you're in a 360-degree space. So you're basically able to, like the old Metroid games. It reminds me of a Metroid game, really, but you're moving along a circular ring of room, and then you're going up layers of that circular ring. I don't really know how to rank this game. I have a major issue with Orbital Bullet in the fact that I got pretty motion sick from it. So I really couldn't play the game as much as I wanted to, but what I played of it, I really enjoyed it. I think that it probably slips into mid B tier for me. There's interesting stuff in this game. I just warn, if you are motion sick in any way, probably don't play it, because it's probably going to trigger some of your motion sickness. But I like it. I think there's a lot of unique stuff going on in it. Might need a little bit more content in order to push it into that, upper echelon of roguelites. But it's still solid and worth checking out. Let's move on to Patch Quest. I'm going to put Patch Quest a little bit below Archvale. It's the same vein of game, right? It's this Metroidvania meets roguelite bullet hell, right? Patch Quest does a lot of things right, but the problem is that the combat is not satisfying enough to make you want to do the repetition of the roguelite with it. It tries really hard to give you a lot of unique builds and ideas, but in the end, it falls under the same Dead Cells trap where you're just using the same thing over and over and over again, and it's not exciting in any way. And the progression through the game and finding new areas, they're not unique enough for you to really crave exploring and finding new spots. It just starts to feel really samey. But again, the game is in early access. There's still a ton of updates coming to it. The dev is a really awesome guy. I recommend keeping your eye on it. Maybe pull the trigger once it gets a couple more updates, because it's a good foundation. It just needs a little bit more to it. Speaking of good foundation but needs a little bit more, Peglin is a really good example of that. Unfortunately, in its current state, I gotta put it in the C tier, because there's no content in demo that is currently out. It has potential to be a really, really strong game of 2022 if it releases this year. But at its core, it's a Peggle roguelike, right? It just doesn't have any of the mechanics that it needs to push itself beyond Round Guard, which is kind of your top tier of Peggle roguelite right now. It's not even close to Round Guard. Round Guard is a better game, and I don't even think Round Guard is that good. So it needs a lot of work, but the hope is that it's going to get there. And if it gets there, then it has a ton of potential, because the actual gameplay is really fun. It's just there's no content in the game at all. So it's got some time to grow, and that's okay. I like games that need more time in the oven. Let's talk Phantom Abyss. I like Phantom Abyss, dude. It's a fun game. I'm gonna put it in A tier. It's a 3D first-person asynchronous multiplayer game, meaning that you're competing against people that are not playing currently. So there's kind of a ghost mechanic similar to the old Mario Kart games, where you're competing against people that have already gone in the same temple that you're in as you're doing this Indiana Jones style temple runner. The problem is that all those people that you see have died doing that temple. So only one person can ever defeat the temple that you're in. And that creates a lot of, stress and tenseful moments. There's some really cool obstacles that go on. The game is really, really cool and has good stuff. I just felt it needed a little bit more content. It has had a few updates since I last played it. I'm excited to recheck the game out at some point in time. But yeah, it's some good stuff. I would recommend checking it out. One of the Devolver games of the year, until, Inscription came out. Definitely worth a look. Speaking of games of the year, Potion Craft, baby. Potion Craft is some good stuff. It's gonna slip below Circadian Dice for me in S tier. As an early access, like extremely early access game, Potion Craft is still a lot of fun, and you can sink a good 5, 6, 7 hours into this game without being tired of it. And there's still so much more coming to it that it's worth hopping on the bandwagon and seeing what it's all about. It's an alchemy simulator, but in a very kind of artsy style. The graphics are phenomenal. The sound is some of the best sound I've ever experienced in a game. It just makes you feel really cozy while playing. The people you meet are hilarious. I can't wait to see what they do in future updates, and it really has potential to be like a alchemy simulator meets Papers, Please kind of game, and I love the idea. It's just some good stuff, man. It's just some good stuff. The Binding of Isaac Repentance. Well, I mean, what is there to say, right? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. It is S tier. Okay. This is the best update to ever come for Isaac, no matter what anybody says. It has revitalized the game. It has made the game much more fun than Afterbirth Plus. I think that throwing the game in a dumpster would make it better than Afterbirth Plus, because Afterbirth Plus is at the bottom of the dumpster. But Repentance is still great. I enjoyed a lot. Some of the balances and tweaks, not amazing, but the game at its core is in a really, really good state, and it's hard to deny that. I think it's a good step in the right direction, a good final update for Isaac. And yeah, I mean, what else is there to say? It's freaking Isaac. Like, I can't say much more about it. A game that I could talk about for hours and hours, though, is Revita, which is my third game of the year. Game number 3, and the scary part is it could also qualify for the 2022 list, since it's going to come out into its 1.0 release this year. Revita is a game that I've been following from its very, very infant state, its very first release on Steam. I loved the game then. I loved the game in every update after that, and the game right now is one of the most fun roguelites on the market. If you're not checking it out, I don't know what you're waiting for. Maybe you're waiting for the 1.0 release, but this game already has more content than most games sitting out for years have. You gotta check it out. It's brilliant. And the 1.0 release is just gonna be even better. It's definitely number 3 for my games of the year. Let's talk Ring of Pain. Not a game that released in 2021, but a game that I played for the first time in 2021. It's just a weird game, man. It's just a weird game. I'm gonna put it above Fuzz Force Spook Squad, but below Beastbreaker. It's a card-based roguelite, but in not a deck-building fashion. It's just a weird game. I mean, it's a very, very strange game. I don't even think you'll find the video of this on my channel, so I'd recommend checking out Retromation's series of it. He's had a pretty long-running Ring of Pain series. It's a brilliant game. It really is, but God, is it weird. I mean, it's just a strange game. You're kind of fighting enemies in a ring, and then collecting gear to then change the way your stats are, which then affects how you kill the enemies in that ring, but then there's also other weird mechanics. It's just a strange game. Definitely worth checking out. Go play it. Rogue Heroes. Dude, it's such a tough game to rank, right? Is another one. It belongs like right here. These 3 could be like all brothers, because they're all in the same vein. It's these roguelites that try to become a metroidvania, when they should have just stuck as a roguelite, right? It's this kind of open world exploration roguelite with a lot of, skill trees and buildings you create and farms and all of these things that make it seem like you're playing an RPG survival game. But then the core gameplay mechanic is going into these dungeons and playing a roguelite. The problem is the dungeons are extremely repetitive, so you don't really have a huge desire to do the roguelite part of the game. You just want to do the exploration part of the game, but that's not the core mechanic, so it's not as fleshed out. And thus you are a little disappointed as you play. It's kind of the same as Moonlighter for me. Moonlighter, the actual roguelite mechanics in it are freaking horrible. But the shop and kind of managing your town is so fun that you like begrudgingly do the actual gameplay of the game when instead you want to be spending it doing everything else. That's kind of how I feel with Rogue Heroes. The gameplay is way better than Moonlighter, but it just is not good enough to be at the top, right? Still worth checking out, and it plays co-op, so I would highly recommend local co-op with a friend that game is really, really good. So I would check it out. It's good stuff. Roll. Roll's a tough game to rank, man. I feel like Roll and Luck Be a Landlord kind of are the same game in a lot of ways. I think that Roll is in like a middling B tier for me. You're kind of manipulating dice and then rolling to get high number, and then you try to get highest number possible. It's pretty easy to break. You know, there's some simple ways to get high number. So I don't think there's a ton of replayability in the game, but I think the ideas in it make it a really solid game to pick up and play. It's cheap as hell on Steam, so that's something that it should maybe be ranked higher just because it knows its limitations, right? It knows it's not a game you're dumping 400 hours into, but it's a cute little big number roguelite, right? If you like big number, play Roll. Rounds. Dude, I'm gonna be real with you. I actually think Rounds is an S tier game. I'm gonna put it at the bottom of my S tier, but it's actually a brilliant game. This is a 1v1 arena 2D platformer roguelite battler. Say that 10 times fast. It's from the same makers as Stick Fight the game, so it's the same kind of combat style of Stick Fight, but with this roguelite deck building mechanic where every time you die in the 1v1 you get to add an upgrade to yourself, so you get these really wacky builds that just create a ton of fun in the game. It has a huge robust modding community, which makes it insanely enjoyable to play with mods. They've really kind of kept the game going, but the devs have basically abandoned it, which sucks, because I think there's actually a lot of room for the game to grow, and it's never going to, because the devs are basically like, peace out. They kind of made it as a meme, and then they've moved on to their next game now. You know, they kind of do this every year as they release kind of a meme game, and this was their meme game. So it's fun though. Like, I highly recommend it with a friend. It's a ton of fun. You can play against randoms online as well. It's good stuff. Check it out. Super Auto Pets. Oh man, dude, I think that it's below Luck Be a Landlord for me, but it's close. It's close. Super Auto Pets is a free auto battler game where you fight animal emojis, and they all have different effects. It's a really easy way to kind of teach and get into the auto battler genre. As I've said many times now, I don't like auto battlers, but the thing with Super Auto Pets is it plays more like a PvP game than an auto battler, where you're kind of making a decision once and then seeing the results immediately. And it kind of gives you that immediate gratification of, this is horrible or this is sick. And it allows you to kind of adjust around that. I really enjoy it. It also has the ability where you can set up arenas against people on streams and stuff, so you can get chat involved if you're a streamer, and that makes it really fun. I just like it, man. And the fact it's free, I mean, it's a steal. It does have a paid DLC for more animals, but if you don't want to pay the DLC, you don't play against people that use the DLC. So it's kind of just, there's no incentive to buy unless you just like the game. I think that's cool. I think it's really cool. And they continue to add more content to it, so even better. It's good stuff. Shapes.io puzzle DLC. I'm going to scream. This is a really tough one to rank for me, because I actually really, really like the Shapes.io puzzle DLC, but I'm disappointed that it wasn't more than what it was. At its release, it has 20 puzzles. The game is $9 for Shapes.io, I think. The DLC was like $6 to get the puzzle DLC. There's 20 puzzles. There's 20 puzzles. Now, there's puzzles that the community creates, but there's 20 official puzzles. If you're playing offline, there's 20 puzzles. I just wanted more, right? I wanted more, and there's like not enough mechanics in it, I guess, that I just wanted more from it. They introduced a bunch of new stuff into the base game, but none of that stuff is in the puzzle DLC. So it's kind of, I wanted to see it really stretch my mind, and the puzzles, while they're not easy, they're not really hard, and since there's not a lot of them, it's just like, I don't know. I kind of wanted more from it. I'm gonna put it in low B because it's still really fun. But I'm a bit disappointed in it. That's all I'll say. Slice and Dice. Dude, this is a sleeper for like one of the best games I played this year. I'm gonna put it above It Takes Two. This is a free, not free, it's not free. This is an itch.io game, not on Steam. It is a dice building roguelite akin to something like Fuzz 4 Spook Squad, Dicey Dungeons, etc. But the way that you combat and fight in it is really tight knit. It's kind of D&D style classes that you're upgrading, and then they get different dice that have different faces, that have different effects, and then everything kind of plays together. It's kind of brutally difficult. There's some difficulty levels in it. The only complaint I have about it, there's no music in the game, which is really weird. They just don't have a soundtrack, and they like advertise, by the way, we don't have a soundtrack. So you can play your own music in the background. I suppose that's cool. But for what it is, it's a brilliant little game, and I would recommend checking it out. Snake RX. Oh boy. Look, I'm gonna put it where I want to put it, okay? Which is, I think that it is belonging below It Takes Two, above my other A-tier games. The game is really, really fun. However, I would implore you not to play it, or if you're gonna play it, get the open source version and then build it yourself and play it. The dev is like a super asshole. He is a super asshole. If you follow the guy on Twitter, you would know, but he is a super asshole. He has done some extremely controversial stuff in the past couple of months. I've now removed Snake RX from the pyramid. I will probably never play the game ever again because I don't really want to support the guy at all, but he did make a fun game. So, if you are the kind of person that doesn't care about, political correctness and being a nice person, then play Snake RX. But if that's something where you're like, I don't want to support a dev who's a mega butt, don't play it. And we're gonna leave it at that. That seems good to me. We move on to Switch Cars. Switch Cars is a weird ass game. It's a weird ass game. I'm gonna put it above Chefsplosion, but I would rather play Roll, which is why it's below Roll. Switch Cars is actually probably the strangest game I played in 2021. It's a side-scrolling racing roguelite. So you're hopping in cars, and you're hopping from car to car, going across the screen at like 95 miles per hour. Your eyes will be bleeding at the end of the game. But it's got that like weird twinge to it that makes it hit right in a weird sort of way. It's a strange game. It's a strange game. Check it out. I can't explain it without you just seeing it. So check it out. It's good stuff. Tastemaker. Okay. Tastemaker, a perfect example of needs more time in the oven. I'm gonna put it in D tier. D tier is kind of like needs more time in the oven, and then Loop Hero. Tastemaker is a restaurant simulator, akin to like your if you played Restaurant Empire as a kid. I did a lot. It's very similar to Restaurant Empire, which is why I was like really excited for it. The problem is it's got some mechanics in it that are just really strange. It's like it wasn't well thought out. I played it for like an hour and a half on stream, and in the last half hour, I ended up creating a gambling ring inside of the bathroom of my restaurant. I mean, you shouldn't be allowed to do that in a game and like be successful. I appreciate that I was able to be, but it just got really samey because there wasn't a lot of actual mechanics in the game. So I want to see it succeed, and I want to see it do more with what it has, because the foundation as a restaurant simulator is really good. It was extremely easy to break and turn into a gambling ring inside your bathroom. So it's good stuff. It's good stuff, but it needs more time in the oven. Understand. I really like Understand, man. I do think that this is an S tier game. I'm going to put it at the bottom of S tier because some of the later levels are just BS in it. Understand is a minimalistic puzzle game where you are trying to figure out the rules of the puzzle in order to succeed. I don't know how else to explain it other than go watch my series on it, because it's one of my favorite series I did in 2021. It just hit at the right time on the channel, and I really, really loved the game. I never finished it, but I would love to in the future. It's a good game. Ratchet's Den. I'm going to put this in low A because I actually think that there's a lot of good stuff in Ratchet's Den. This is part of... oh, God, dude, I forget the company that made this. Let me... I'm going to look it up real quick. Punk Cake, that's them. Punk Cake is a group. They're making like a new game every month and releasing them, and they're all like kind of slappers, right? So Ratchet's Den was one of their monthly games that they created. It's a tactical tower defense roguelite. So you're kind of moving space by space in the world. You know, you take turns kind of moving, but you're just trying to collect these orbs in the world. So you're mining for these orbs, trying to collect them. If you collect all of them, you win. But there's enemies that are spawning, and there's a bunch of upgrades that you're getting and gold you're collecting, and it's all very tight-knit, and where one bad turn can ruin you. So it's a super, super tight tactical game, but with some really interesting kind of tower defense, taste in the background. I think it's a brilliant little game for being made in a month, and definitely worth checking out. And finally, the last game in our ranking is You Suck at Parking, which is another game I only played the demo of. So I'm going to put it, rightfully so, near the bottom of B tier, which is kind of where I put a lot of these demo games. You Suck at Parking is a parking simulator where you're kind of controlling, if you know like the old Mario Party minigame where you're controlling the remote control car on the track, is like that, but an entire game of it. And it's a bunch of little puzzle tracks that you're doing. Interesting idea, super cute in kind of the way that it's portrayed. The art is really good, the music and sound is really good, but it's just kind of a level-based game that doesn't end up having a lot of variety in it. Again, it was just the demo, so the full release may be significantly more fleshed out with a lot of more, interesting mechanics put in. But at its core, the demo was still a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it a lot. This is my ranking. We're at 52 minutes. Honestly, that's not too bad. I spent about a minute per game in here. I would tell you, everything in C tier up, I still recommend you play. We played a lot of good games this year, which makes it really difficult to kind of rank them. There's a lot of gems in here. Everything in S tier are generationally fantastic games that you should check out at some point in time. But everything on here deserves to be played. A lot of brilliant games, worked with a lot of brilliant devs in 2021. I'm excited to see what comes in 2022. There's interesting games on the horizon already, and I'm looking forward to digging into them. Thanks so much for watching. I'll leave a link to this tier maker in the description down below if you want to rank some of these for yourself with how you enjoyed them. You can share those on Twitter to me. I'd be happy to interact with you. And yeah, that's all I got. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next year. Have a good one. Bye-bye.